Let's bring in Danielle Carter Walters, a Chicago resident and the vice president of Chicago Flips Red. Danielle, welcome back to you. Good to have you here. So, how badly does the city of Chicago, I should say, need the help of the federal government right now?
Well, we need the help. The Democratic Party is the real party of the dictatorship and censorship. Just a while ago, we were just down at City Hall at the meeting for public safety. They have a public safety meeting. And we were down there early this morning. They did not allow us to come up, and they packed the chambers with liberal students. And what's going on is you have only 10 public comments speaking. And so they knew that if they gave us a chance, we wanted to demand to know what they were going to do to keep our streets safe, because we just had that 58 shootings. So they packed the chambers up. They didn't allow us to speak. And then when an 80-year-old citizen, American citizen, Chicago citizen, started screaming out, "This is why we need you, President Trump. This is what they do. They violate our constitutional right. We have no help here." He was screaming out. And Brian Hopkins, the second Ward alderman, demanded that they kick this 80-year-old man out, that they throw him out. Now, that was the same alderman that allowed the illegal alien shelter to operate in the inner cities. And that's why businesses left downtown. That's why residents moved out. And he did not do anything. He did not order those illegal aliens to get put out. But yet they tried to throw an 80-year-old man out. And only reason why they didn't, because I told them I would go on Fox, I would show this video, and I would show you all throwing the 80-year-old citizen out, because he's trying to voice his opinion about how detriment and how unsafe our communities are. So we need help, because not only are we being retaliated against, we are being censored. These are your real dictators. These are the people who do not follow the Constitution. The Democratic Party is evil, and they hate the American citizens.
Danielle, this is President Trump. He was in the Oval Office earlier with the Polish president, talking about the crime in Chicago, saying how hard it was for him to even speak of what is happening there. Listen.
I want to go into Chicago and have this incompetent governor that doesn't want us. Do you know that this weekend 72 people were shot in Chicago? I'm embarrassed to say it in front of the president of Poland. 11 people were killed. 72 people were shot. Last week, 7 people were killed.
So how can he and the governor of Illinois be on such different pages here? This is Pritzker in a post on X earlier today. As a governor who cares about the well-being of my people, he writes, "I can't live in a fantasy land where I pretend Trump is not tearing this country apart for personal greed and power." How can he sit there in that city, in that state, and say that the crime that the residents are experiencing, Danielle, is a fantasy? Here's more residents when asked whether they're open to the National Guard coming in. Here's what they're saying. Listen.
I think that it'll do justice, for the city. I think putting some structure in place will definitely, help prevent those things.
So I don't see the point. It's a huge waste.
We need to do something. So, yeah, I'm open. I'm not necessarily thinking it'll be a bad thing.
So something has to happen. One thinks it may be a waste. The other says we definitely need justice for this city. Danielle, what are you hearing firsthand from residents there?
This is what most of the residents want. This is what everybody wants. How can this governor even make that statement? The president is doing his job as the president of the United States of America. He sworn the oath to keep America safe. And we see that Governor Pritzker has failed his. He was sworn in to protect the citizens of Illinois, and he has failed to do that. So for him to say that our president, who is upholding his oath to the American citizen, for him to say that about him, you know what, these people are disgusting, and I just have no words.
This is one of the Democrat reps from Illinois on deploying the National Guard and why this rep is against it. Earlier, listen.
Deploying the National Guard in Chicago will not make the city safer. It fuels Trump's violent attacks on our communities and sends people back into the shadows. If he's serious about reducing crime, he would stop weaponizing the military.
Okay, so there is a belief by some of these Democrats, final thought to you, Danielle, that not only will it not do nothing, it's a waste, some of them say, but it won't make the city safer. I'll get a final thought from you on where you see this going next.
Well, Chuy Garcia, he don't even live in Chicago. And when I was on Capitol Hill testifying about how dangerous it was in our community with the 70,000 illegal aliens that majority of them are placed in our communities, he didn't ask me a question. He didn't want to know what was going on with the citizens of Chicago. And I was right there on Capitol Hill, and he didn't even look my way. And we want to also talk about Byron Central Lopez, another alderman who just did a press conference. Now he's saying that he the one who said F ICE and abolish ICE. Now, he's the same alderman that has gates on his window and gates on his doors at his office. So if Chicago is so safe, let these people live the way they want us to live, because at this point, it's just a circus.
Got it. Danielle, well, we're thinking of the city, and we know it's going through a lot, has been through a lot, and President Trump wants to step in and help. We'll see where it goes. Appreciate your time today, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me.
Back up soon. Okay.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.